Caroline, honey, it is such a pleasure to see you today. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. What a beautiful, sunny, warm day.
I know. I feel like spring is hitting hard for some places, including us, including me, which is so nice. I'm so excited. I cannot tell you how excited I am to have you here on the show. And what I would love, because you have such a deep and such a profound mission and purpose. I want to dive into, especially around health, which is, oh, I'd so deeply resonate with that. I wanted to just have you start with kind of that defining moment for you where you were on that quest to find the things that were going to help to support your body in a really whole body way and how it turned into what you've created so far in your life.
Yeah. Well, I come from a corporate career in high tech, and I was, had young kids, and I was single parenting for part of that time. And I ended up working 50 to 60 hours a week. I mean, really intense career. And I ended up in a really deep health crisis with completely flatlined adrenals. I had really bad inflammation in my gut I had found out that I was gluten intolerant, severely gluten intolerant at that time, and had probably been that way all my life. But even though I stopped eating any gluten, I was unable to get over the gut dysbiosis and inflammation that I had. I also had really bad inflammation in my mouth. I had deeply receded gums with deep pockets and bone loss in my teeth. I also had constant recurring sinus infections that just kept coming back every 6 or 8 weeks. I mean,
Oh,
really,
wow.
it was bad. And part of that was because I had an intense mold exposure event happen. It was probably 3 years before this kind of defining moment. And I've also had low thyroid for many years. So you can imagine all of these different things and how they impacted my energy and my sleep and even my digestion. I mean, really, they were pervasive. And I was really in a place of breakdown. I had to quit my job, and I just went into a place of how am I going to get well? At that time, I serendipitously met my business partner, a man named Dan Howard. And Dan introduced me to plant-based minerals, and he had these liquid mineral replenishers that tasted like water, and they're really easy to drink. And I was like, well, this sounds great. Sure, why not? Maybe they'll help. And I started taking them, and I changed nothing else. Because of all my health challenges, I eat very healthily, I eat very clean, all of that kind of thing. But after about 2 months of doing that, I went to my dentist. This was the first sign. And she looked in my mouth after having my teeth cleaned, and there'd been very little pain or bleeding when my teeth were clean. So that was a surprise already. When she looked in my mouth, she was very surprised, and she said, what has changed? The pH in your mouth is completely different. The tissues look pink and healthy. What are you doing? And I thought for a moment, and I couldn't think of anything, but I said, well, I think maybe it's these minerals that I'm drinking. And she said, it could be, just keep taking them. 4 months into taking these minerals, I went to my naturopath, and I had been working with that same naturopath for about a year, trying to heal these completely flatlined adrenals. I had no adrenal function to speak of. And we'd done the test, and we were looking at the results, and she was again so surprised because the adrenal function was 1/3 of the way up the chart with its natural sawtooth pattern.
Mm.
And then I went through one season and the next. I didn't have any sinus infections, no flus, no colds. And I just started all the bloating and elimination issues that I had related to my gut. They just went away. They just literally went away. And I started feeling better and better. And I kept going back to Dan, my friend, and saying, what's going on with these minerals? I've spent thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on my health, going to different practitioners and herbalists and, acupuncturists and energy workers and you name it, trying to get better. So I was left with this huge curiosity.
Yeah.
And that was really the point where I was like, I have no idea how this little cups of liquid that tastes like water could have such a profound impact.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I can imagine, especially with so many different health conditions coming at you that were compounding that easily many different specialists, would need to be addressing.
And if it had been just one of them, probably wouldn't have even thought about the minerals. But
Yeah.
because it was all of them, that's why I really started paying attention. I just started deep diving into a whole bunch of research.
Hmm. And I love that, big takeaway here too was your curiosity, of just like kind of connecting the dots, right? And we know that oral health is whole body health and microbiome health is whole body health. And obviously our adrenals, if we want to function in life at any capacity, especially to show up as a mom, especially a single mama at that, we definitely need those to be able to even just get out of bed in the morning. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, I want to dive in to talk a little bit about plant-based minerals. I was introduced to plant-based minerals, I want to say 10 years ago, and I am obsessed. And so when I came across the work that you did, the products that you have, I've just been so amazed. And I think I'm so excited for my ladies to learn more.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the thing that happened when I started researching, and I always think it's funny when I say plant-based minerals because I don't know if you grew up playing the game Animal, Vegetable, Mineral, but I grew up playing this game and it's like a 20 questions thing. And you think of an animal, a vegetable, or a mineral, but no one ever chooses minerals because, as a kid, you think, well, minerals, what is that? Rocks?
Yeah. No, I was, I would have,
So,
yeah.
but one of the most profound things that there's kind of 2 points. And the first is to understand that everything that is structural in the world, in the universe, is minerals. So minerals are the foundation for everything in the world, in the universe. And your body is literally fueled at the mitochondrial level inside your cells by two things, minerals and amino acids. And when I understood that, it really dawned on me that my cells had been starving for years, that I had been mineral deficient for so long that things that normally with enough energy my body would have been able to resolve or clear or build, like bone in my teeth, instead it did not have what it needed. So it had to pick and choose what it would do. And well, your adrenals, yeah, we need them, but we'll just give you the tiniest amount to get you up in the morning. So these things are, what happens when your body cannot produce enough energy is that it has to pick and choose. And as you grow older, all those chronic things that are just start as annoyances crop up over time into, a whole myriad of things that can have major impact on your life.
I agree wholeheartedly. I always tell people before your heart cell, let's say a heart cell or a gut cell or an adrenal cell or a skin cell, before any of these cells can be that, they have to at least have the energy to be it. They have to at least be functioning and hopefully not just surviving, but thriving. And what drives that is mitochondrial function and the energy that your mitochondria that are in almost every single cell in the body are making to do that job. And so that hits home for me so deeply. I think so often when people are dealing with, whether it's brain fog or lack of energy or depletion or just, aches and pains and all these things that they're dealing with, I'm like, this is at a mitochondrial level. Like and if they don't have what they need to function, it's the foundation of everything. It's all just going to fall apart. It's like a house of cards.
And the cool thing about it is once I really began to recognize this whole body as an ecosystem of microbiomes throughout the body and smaller ecosystems inside of the entire ecosystem, I started to recognize that this is the same situation we have in nature. So in natural situations, like let's think about a forest. When a plant grows in the soil, it grabs nutrients out of the soil to create all of its structure, whether it's a small little fern or a huge cedar tree. All of the structure in that plant is made by pulling the minerals out of the soil. And so in nature, those plants grow and then they die and decompose, and all that mineral content goes back into the soil. So I started to look into, well, what are these plant-based humic? They're called humic and fulvic. These two, they're actually molecules. That's how I like to describe them. We call them humic. People call them humic and fulvic acid, which is really a slight misnomer. They're truly molecules. And I'm sure you've heard of the mycorrhizae, which are it's a fungi that lives in the soil. It's like they call it the nervous system for the earth. And these mycorrhizae, they deliver nutrient packets to the roots of all the plants everywhere. And what they deliver is humic and fulvic.
Mm.
That is the delivery nutrient packets are these small molecules called humic and fulvic. The beautiful thing about these two molecules is that they carry all of the minerals that your body needs or a plant needs in the proper ratios. So rather than trying to, go down to your health food store and get the 17 to 22 minerals that you need, you can actually, at a foundational level, get all of the minerals you need from these plant-based minerals. Now, we know that there are certain times when you can use individual minerals for specific effects. Not talking about that. We're talking about fundamental support for the entire ecosystem and putting it in a balanced way because ecosystems like small incremental changes or delivery of nutrients over time continually. They don't want to have a huge wheelbarrow of, nutrients just all at one time. If you eat a big meal, you feel like, but if you eat a little bit, a smaller amount, your body can adapt and enjoy the nutrition much more effectively. And it's the same with minerals.
I love this. And like, as I mentioned to you about a decade ago is when I learned about them, but they were not available. It was really hard to get them. I remember taking them for a little bit of time. Like I had a friend who had them and kind of like you had a friend. And
Exactly.
but then I didn't have them anymore. And I was, and so that's why I've been so excited because I feel like you have really brought them and made them available in a way that is just so exciting. Because I just feel like it's been like like a best kept secret in a way.
Yeah, and I tried to do some research and understand why, because they came out in the 80s, somebody brought them out, but I have a feeling that they started using them maybe related to HIV or something. And
Mm.
there was a huge shutdown that happened around a whole bunch of alternative things in that time period. And so there's this whole series of 30 years where no one said it. Like maybe the few really fringy people said things and nobody else talked about them. So what I have been, my mission, what I'm really working on is helping people understand what they are and how they work so that they can utilize them effectively because they literally are Mother Nature's mineral replenishment technology for all cellular systems on Earth. And it makes sense that nature would develop a method for getting minerals into cells since nothing, no, your body makes amino acids, it makes no minerals. They all have to come from the outside and get not only just into your gut and not only into your bloodstream, but inside your cells. And that's
Inside your mitochondria.
actually
We got to go into that organelle too.
ultimately,
Yeah.
exactly, and ultimately into the mitochondria. Exactly.
Mhm.
So this is a huge thing, and I'd love to help people understand how those
Yeah.
two molecules work if you want to get into
Yes, please. Yes. I love the how. So let's do it.
that. I'm really interested to know once we talk about it if you understood some of these details about how they work, because what I hope to do is empower people with the knowledge about how they work so they can use them as literally tools in their health, in their own health journey. So I like to start with where they come from.
Yes.
So humic and fulvic come when freshwater plants decompose. And the main reason that's important to know is that they don't come from seawater or seawater plants or, seaweed or sea moss, any of these things. Those things are great for mineral content, but they don't have the additional capacities that we're going to explain, that I'm going to share with you, that humic and fulvic have, which make them particularly effective at mineral replenishment. So when freshwater plants decompose, and that happens anywhere. If you see a pond and it's got brown water, that's probably decomposing plant matter, and there's probably humic in that water. Okay. But most the products that are for human consumption are all made from ancient decomposed plants. So imagine 65 million years ago, there were rainforests all around the earth, and then a meteor hit the Yucatan. It killed 75% of all life on Earth in a few hours. And all of these rainforests in different places around the earth died and decomposed. So in the Himalayas, there's a material called shilajit. I'm sure you've heard of that. It's a resinous substance. In the British Isles, there's something called peat. It also exists some places in Soviet Union and a few other places. In the Amazon basin, there's something called terra preta. And in the US or North America, we have some materials called humate or leonardite. And these are crystalline, incredibly mineral-rich substance. They exist about 10 to 12 feet below the earth, which is really good because they haven't had any contact with modern pollutants. So they're very, very pure. So we take these substances, and anybody who is creating supplements for people to take to use humic and fulvic, all the powders that you'll find are all going to be humic. And the thing you have to understand is that fulvic is something that's actually extracted out of humic. So you take a base crystalline material that's called humate with our products, and we extract out of that the humic molecule and the fulvic molecule. Now, these molecules are truly amazing, and that's what I'm going to start with the fulvic because it's the best one to start with. So the fulvic molecule is an extremely small molecule. It's much, much smaller than a cell. And it has some capacities that no other molecule on Earth has. It can change its polarity. So it's an extremely strong electrolyte molecule. Now, an electrolyte is actually usually one single charge. It's either positive or negative, and it doesn't change. But the fulvic molecule has the ability to change its charge. And when you study it, it actually gets into quantum mechanics. So I call it a quantum molecule. Fulvic molecule is a quantum molecule. And what they've observed is that it changes its polarity, and in doing so, it adjusts the pH in its local area. So to a more alkaline kind of pH, which is very healthy in the body. Viruses don't like to live in certain bacteria, non-beneficial bacteria don't like to live in alkaline environments. Cancer doesn't like to live in alkaline environments, etc. So it's trying to keep this entire cellular ecosystem healthy. So what happens with the fulvic is that because of its incredibly strong electrical charge, all these minerals attach to it. It gathers them, they cling to it. And then when it hits the cell wall, any channel that opens in the cell wall, the fulvic gets a free pass through. That it doesn't require any receptor, anything. The body already recognizes, the cells recognize fulvic as a beneficial substance, and it lets it go through. Now, the beautiful thing is that fulvic molecule can carry 60 times its weight of nutrients, amino acids, and minerals through the cell wall. And then it changes its polarity. So like a magnet, if you could release a magnet and things would fall off, that's what happens. Those minerals, those nutrients fall off inside the cell where they're available to the mitochondria for energy generation. So now it moves around the cell in this opposite polarity, and it picks up biowaste, toxins, heavy metals, nanoplastics, viral detritus, also glyphosate, and it will take those and move them now out of the cell. So channel opens in the cell, now it travels out of the cell, and it changes its polarity again, and it drops those things in the bloodstream. So it's a flavonoid, and one of the most powerful flavonoids, and a flavonoid is basically an intercellular transporter. So this alone has the specialists and kind of experts in humic and fulvic, they say this molecule it's unprecedented. It's the only molecule on Earth they've ever found that can do this.
That is so incredible.
Isn't
Bringing
it?
in the good stuff, taking out the trash. I love it.
Right. And it's just doing that continually. And, we know that intercellular detox is a totally hard thing to do. Removing toxins from the bloodstream, that's another thing. From your gut, that's one thing. But to remove it from inside your cells, where many toxins, environmental toxins are stored, that is really, really important.
No, I agree. I can imagine that people definitely experience less inflammation, more energy. What are some of the things that you hear? I mean, obviously it's a combo. They're doing both, and we're going to get into Humic in just a second. But I would just love to hear because I'm guessing those are some of the big benefits: more brain function, firing on all cylinders. I mean, these are definitely experiences that I've had.
Yeah, I just spoke with a friend yesterday. I've been doing business with him, and he told me his daughter is an athlete. She's like, I don't know, crazy. It's like 6th in the whole US in some track and field. She's young. She's like 10. But he gave her she was struggling with cramping and lots of hydration issues and stuff. And I asked him to have her use our minerals, particularly the electrolytes, and to use it when she's training and use a lot of it because she was training really heavily. She just did her first race this spring. And usually the first race, he said, usually they don't kill their last year's times.
Yeah, exactly. Your PV, your last big,
Yeah.
yes.
She shaved 16 seconds
Oh my gosh.
off her 800 meter. She shaved 14 seconds off her 400 meter. And then there's I think it's a 50-yard, and she shaved 2 seconds, it's like those kinds of things just don't happen normally. So and that's just really, I use that as an example of the kind of increased energy capacity that can affect so many different aspects of your health. I mean, as an older person or woman, and particularly dealing with perimenopause, menopause, your mitochondrial function is shifting.
Yes.
You need more fuel to make sure that the mitochondria that are really active, of course, I'm sure you have in your practice many ways to support mitochondrial function in general, but you still need the fuel.
Yeah, no, agreed. Well, I think, I mean, so often in this particular transition and time in our lives, just the second half of our lives, it's a lot of depletion. We're depleted. I mean, look at labs every day and it's depleted. And so we're just missing out on what our bodies need to fully function. This is why, and actually, you brought up the little girl being 10. I was one of the questions I wanted to ask because just like me, midlife mamas, whether their kids are older or younger, talk to me about just, I know we're going to get back on track, but this was I just always need to know. I'm always a mama at heart at this point in my life. But talk to me about of using these with our children.
They're so fantastic with kids. The beautiful thing is it's hard to get kids to take pills and
Yes.
lots of things that have flavors. Kids are picky about flavors, and you can get them to drink some really sugary drink, but is that really good for them? So the beautiful thing,
No, it's not everybody.
so the great thing about these minerals is you can literally pour them in the water bottle. And I mean, I have never found a kid that wouldn't drink them. And people come up to our booths all the time when we're at shows, and they bring their kids, and the kids are kind of little, especially with the dark one, the Micro Boost, which is the Humic supplement. They're really worried. And then they drink it and they're like, no problem. We have stories of families that we have some different families that have lots of athletes, and they literally just line it up in the morning and they all just drink their minerals and go on, and the kids have no problem. So, the thing I want people to begin to think about relative to kids is there is a huge rise in chronic symptoms with kids.
There is.
Hydration to cramping, to brain fog, to anxiety, to depression. And the thing that I want people to really think about are their kids, given their diets, given all of the environmental toxins that are hitting them all the time, are they getting what they need to not only fuel their mitochondrial function in their body? There's lots of stories on our website that people can go to that just of particularly kids' stories
Oh, I
about,
love that.
a kid who had ADHD really struggled with focus, another kid who had lots of bone pain, another kid who had struggled with cramping, on and on. This can be the major thing that is going to help your child, because kids, you think, well, they have much more mitochondrial function, but they're also developing. Their bodies are developing. And for
Their
cognition,
brains are developing. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. I forget the number one of my dearest friends, Dr. Elisa's Song, who I've had on the show many times, but that, we live in a time now where, yeah, I think it's at least 50% of our kids by the time they're 18 will have a chronic condition. And it's just mind blowing. And it's often, again, it's often metabolic health, and that is mitochondrial health is at the core. And so I'm always scouring to find the thing. And obviously my son eats lots of healthy, nutrient dense foods and protein and fiber for his tummy friends. And he actually doesn't mind his supplements. And we live in a time where kids they're taking supplements, and so, but I'm always looking for the next something to add to his life, to his daily in his water. He just drinks water, y'all. That's what he drinks to really help support and optimize his cellular health. I mean, that's what we want for all of our kids.
One of the reasons that these chronic symptoms have increased over in recent years is because we're all drinking bottled and filtered water. All the kids, they don't drink, people, and you shouldn't, of course, drink your tap water. But the problem is that most bottled and filtered water, it has no minerals in it. So and this is what we've worked so hard on with our products, is to create a product that makes it easy for people to replenish the minerals. Because even if you're, an adult and you're used to taking pills, I don't want to take, 15 pills a day. And,
I hear you. I mean, I do, but I hear you.
harder with kids. Yeah, yeah, you do.
My
I
son's like, "Are those all of your supplements?" And I was like, "Yeah, this is what happens when you're 45 years old." And I'm like, "You have a simple routine. Mama's got a bigger routine."
Yeah, yeah,
But I'm taking the beam. Yeah, I wasn't sure if he could take them. I'm taking them too.
absolutely.
And so that is so good to know, because it's so easy for us to just put it in his water in the morning. Easy.
And
He is
on
a
the
water
back,
junkie, so he drinks a
yeah,
lot.
on the back of the bottle, there's a little QR code. You can just scan that, and there's a whole chart for kids. So you can just go by weight and determine what's best for them. Yeah.
Perfect, perfect. I love
So,
that.
so we talked about the fulvic
Yes,
molecule.
we're getting to the next one.
Yeah, and people often ask me, "Well, isn't that bad that the Fulvic's just dropping that stuff in the bloodstream?" And I'm like, "No, that's fantastic, because you want to get all that waste product and toxins, et cetera, out of your tissues and to a place where it can be eliminated." So the humic molecule hangs out in the bloodstream, and it's a large molecule relative to the cell. And one of the cool things about it is it has a huge amount of surface area on the outside, and it's extremely sticky because it's a very strong electrolyte. And it has parts of the surface that are positively charged and parts of the surface that are negatively charged. So it can actually gather lots of different charged kinds of materials to it. So I like to imagine it like a Velcro ball, and it just travels through your bloodstream, picking up heavy metals, biowaste, toxins, glyphosate. It actually gathers glyphosate and builds a film around it. It's called adsorbing. So it chemically binds to it. And ultimately, this molecule gets so heavy at a molecular weight that it falls out of suspension. And when it falls out of suspension, it then leaves your body through all the elimination channels. One of the things about detoxing is when we're using kind of the stronger detoxification protocols, we're going to deal with some detox symptoms. But when you're using the low-level, gentle, continuous detoxification of Humic, you can actually just titrate down and just do it very slowly and continually over time. There's certainly times to use detox protocols, and they're not always comfortable, and they require a lot of focus and intention, and also being done with a practitioner. But you can just continually detox your body by using Humic, something like our MicroBoost product.
I love it. Well, and I always say that detox isn't a quarterly event. It's a daily event, because the assault on the system is daily. Like, you can't escape all the chemicals and everything that you're exposed to. And so I've been a big believer of daily detoxing and knowing that minerals were a big part of that for a long, long time. Yeah. I don't really, I think it's always important to be gently helping the body to remove the garbage that we're exposed to every day.
Exactly. And then Humic has one other capacity, which is really cool. So cells have a lining, and there's certain channels that open up in the cell. And usually those channels have receptor sites that a magnesium molecule hits, and the cell says, yeah, that's magnesium, and it lets it in.
Mhm.
Now, again, when a channel opens in the fulvic molecule with a whole myriad of minerals associated with it, it goes straight through. What the humic molecule does is it interacts with the proteins in the cell lining, and it increases the number of openings. So, like if you're in a room right now and you have maybe one door and a couple of windows and they're all open, a certain amount of air and people or things can go in and out. But if you have double the amount, then that makes all of that process much more efficient. So the two molecules really are like a 1-2 synergistic effort to make the transport of nutrients into the cells and the detoxification from inside of the cells more efficient, and then ultimately to do what I call Mother Nature's janitor. So just remove all of those toxins, biowaste, et cetera, from the body altogether.
I love that. I love that they're so synergistic. I'm so grateful that you're really sharing, the need for the body to have both, and how important that is. Because I think, like you had said, there, some products, they just have the one, it's not a complete
Well, and
experience for the body.
And the main thing with Humic, so one thing, because Humic is leaving the body, what often are referred to as Herxheimer responses or a detox response, we won't go into that, but basically these responses that people get when they're in a detox process. So you could get a rash, or you could get aching, or you could get a headache, or you could get some intestinal distress, bloating or gas. I mean, there's a huge number of detox responses that people might have. Now, if you are taking Humic as a separate thing, as a powder in a capsule, it's hard to titrate down. And this is kind of this conversation I'm having, helping people understand, is your body's an ecosystem. So rather than hitting it hard, maybe introduce a little bit. And it's easier when you have liquids. So that was the other reason that
Yeah.
like our liquids, because you can just take less. And even better, if you're somebody who is sensitive, I'm actually very sensitive to detox symptoms. So, I mean, I can easily get a rash or all sorts of different things if I'm not careful. So this allows me to you can build up your overall energy production with electrolytes, which causes no detox symptoms, and then add the humic small amounts over time. And I don't have it in my water right now, but usually I already had my glass with humic in it. I just drink it over, an hour. I set it on my desk and I just drink it, or in your water bottle. And that takes care of any potentials of the detox symptoms.
No, I'm so glad you've spoken to that. Yeah, it's so interesting. I hadn't ever thought about fulvic and humic acid causing detox symptoms. Maybe probably because I guess I hadn't had them myself. I didn't think about that. And I guess I always thought that they should be in liquid form. Maybe I felt like they were more bioavailable that way. So when I was introduced to yours, I was like, oh, this is how it's supposed to be. This is what I know to be true. And so, I guess I hadn't realized that some of them, yeah. And you know what it is? It's for me too. It's just the ease I love the ease of taking it. Yeah, I have my big Stanley cup, you know what I'm saying? I just put it in the morning. Is it okay to drink it throughout the day? Or I drink
Fantastic.
multiples of these, but
I think
yeah.
that's fantastic. Think about your house plant. If you take and give it a huge amount of water all at once, it just goes straight through.
Mhm.
But if you give it a little, and then a little bit an hour later and a little hour later, then it absorbs right in. So it's a fantastic way to do it. So the beautiful thing that I want people to get is humic and fulvic are tools. And the fulvic being about increasing and enhancing nutrient uptake into your cells, and the humic being about supporting that, but also that full system detoxification, constant, gentle, continual detox. Before COVID happened, we had maybe literally 4 people over years who contacted us about potential detox symptoms related to the humic. But since the pandemic, we get 2 a week.
Oh, wow.
So there's something about the COVID virus that makes people's sense systems extremely, much more sensitive. And there's all sorts of data about that. You can get into that if you want. But the main thing is, so we have now created, and again, if you look at the back of the bottle and you scan that, there's a whole protocol for how to use it if you are sensitive. I never had any hercs before I had COVID, but now
Mm.
if I drink a shot of our microboost straight, I will have pimples the next day for sure.
Oh, interesting. Okay, good to know. And not only how sensitive we are, but how much stuff we're dealing with in this modern world. I always say there's nothing conducive to happy cells, happy hormones, when we're living in this very modern world and we're being exposed to all these excess stressors or maybe these new viruses and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I want to walk through because I know you've shared a little bit about how to consider taking them. And I've shared a little bit about what I'm doing. And I know that everyone, the question always everyone wants to know. And I don't think of these as fast acting. I think of it as something that, like so many other things that I do in my life, that are healthful, is that it's consistency over time. I always say that 80% of what you do every day is going to dictate how your body is functioning down the road, 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the road. And so to me, this is very much just a part of a daily habit that I do that is not only helping me to feel great now, but I'm looking to stack the bank in my favor for feeling really healthy later on too. And so should we be thinking about it like that? Because that's kind of how my mindset is. But maybe people are thinking like, okay, I want to clear some stuff. I want to manage this inflammation. I want to manage my energy levels. I want the solution type of thing. Is there a way to be thinking about that in terms of that? Or should we be thinking about it the way that I'm thinking about it?
I totally think if we think about our bodies, when we're young, we've got all this mitochondrial function. And I mean, we have more energy in our body and it came from the mother.
Ain't that the truth? Yeah.
So when you grow a baby in your belly, all of the structure of that child is grown by taking minerals from your body. So you've already had a huge hit, which is why I ended up having all the bone loss in my teeth after I had two children. That was like the nail in the coffin or whatever that just really tanked my long-term deficiency. So you want to give yourself time. And this is again back to the ecosystem. Huge changes in nature are, earthquakes and volcanoes and forest fires and et cetera. So we want to just slowly build up. The beautiful thing about beam minerals that is different than some other kinds of mineral supplements is that they're ionic. And ionic means that they are dissolved down to their chemical components. So people might ask me, what kind of magnesium is in your minerals or what kind of potassium? And I say think of the periodic table. It's magnesium at the most basic level. The beautiful thing about that, it's bound to a water molecule, is it requires no digestion in your body at all. So the nice thing so remember how small the fulvic molecule is,
Yeah, very teeny.
much smaller than a cell. So it starts absorbing when it touches the tissue in your mouth, in your throat, in your esophagus. By the time it's reached your stomach, some cells in your body are already utilizing some of the mineral content. So that's one of the nice aspects. The other is that because they're ionic, they stay in, and because of that Fulvic's ability to continually do the changing of the pH or adjusting of the pH, they stay in suspension longer. So we've seen this time and time again that people will have a test for their minerals and, 6 months, 9 months later, they do another test and there are marked differences in their mineral, micronutrient and electrolyte and even heavy metal profiles.
That's incredible. That is so awesome. And yeah, and I love that approach. We're talking about over time and you'll start to see those really incredible benefits. And it really speaks into a whole body approach and really speaks into thinking of the body as, a beautiful orchestra that, again, at a cellular level, the cells just, they want the things that they need to function and then they can really go and thrive in a beautiful way. And that's what I love so much. And again, like as I mentioned before, it's 9 out of 10 women that I run labs on and I'm not running full nutrient profiles and because that's additional functional testing and not everyone's trying to do all that. But even, looking at some of the basics, I'm never surprised at how depleted we are it just our bodies just don't have what they need to function and thrive.
Yeah. I'm in the process of writing a book about minerals and mineral replenishment. And one of the things I'm hoping people get from this is, especially women, and women as we get older and we have children and we have all these intense hits to our system, is our world is telling us, we should turn over a new leaf, and, we just have to manage our diet better and get more exercise, and, we have to sleep better and do whatever. We're constantly trying to do things to our body.
Yeah.
And,
Well, it's
and
obviously our
we
fault
yeah,
that
and it's obviously our
it's
fault.
obviously
Yeah.
our fault.
All the stress is coming from the outside.
Mm.
And what I'm trying to help people, and women in particular, to understand is a lot of that stress is actually cellular stress. It's literally coming from the inside. So how do you feel when you're hungry? We say we're hangry, right? We're on edge. And so what can happen when you replenish the minerals, the fuel in the body, and the body consistently, your ecosystem consistently finds what it needs on a regular basis, then the whole nervous system actually can get off, high alert and slowly go back into a flow state. And then people, I mean, the things that we hear from women, particularly who are dealing with this, is a clearing of the brain fog, beginning to be able to sleep through the night rather than getting up 4 and 5 times a night, the clearing of the inflammation in the gut, the regular elimination without any problems. I mean, even when they're traveling, the lowering of anxiety, just an
Mm.
overall sense of anxiety, that sense of push, like
Yeah.
drive. They feel themselves like landing back in themselves. And, if you're interested in, kind of personal development on a spiritual or whatever, however you want to call that, we talk about that a lot in our company, because that fulvic molecule is a quantum molecule.
Yeah.
So when you're changing yourself at a quantum level through meditation or through personal development, and you're trying to have your body actually hold a different resonance pattern than the stress fear resonance pattern, you need that mineral support to help, because they actually operate at a energetic level, at a quantum level.
I know that's what I was thinking of. When you were talking about it earlier, I was just thinking about this like being a little like a quantum molecule in the sense of really driving really incredible energy in the system, but like, creating energy in your system. And we're not just talking about mitochondrial energy, but like there's this deeper resonance in you. An aliveness is what I was thinking. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. And that's kind of what I realized at a certain point. I kind of had this aha moment, and I was like, well, that's what happened in my body when I was feeling so ill, and I provided minerals in this extremely bioavailable way that didn't even require my gut to be healthy because they absorbed so easily, that slowly over time, I fed my cells, and then I fueled my body, and then I had enough energy to meet my life. So I had to bring that message out to the world. And that's when I went to my partner and I said, we need to bring this to the world. We need to make these products for everyone. So that's what we've been doing.
That's incredible. I love this story because you followed your heart, you followed your purpose, but also like, especially when we have that kind of a healing miracle, you just want everyone to know. And here you are doing it.
And I also, I would not be able to
I
do
was gonna
that
say with
without the minerals.
massive capacity to do that. It's one thing to have a vision and to have a purpose. It's another thing to execute on it at this scale and level. That's
It's true,
incredible.
and it requires consistency, and I know that I could not do it without the minerals in my body. I
Mm.
mean, we kind of say we're gonna change the world, cell by cell.
I love it. Well, that's what we're talking about here. That is very much what we're talking about. This has just been amazing. I'm just so excited because these conversations that really open the door, like what I love so much about this is the simplicity that it can be such a an easy full body yes for any of us to be like, okay, I can bring this in, kind of similar to you when you were really kind of at the bottom of the bottom, right? And man, I can't even imagine. We struggle with mold issues and all kinds of things. And I know what that feels like to be at the bottom of the bottom and still try to barely hold it up for the people in your life and to have that turning point. And, again, not a lot of work to do that. I mean, you're just really giving yourself, I mean, come on, like
I
everybody.
know, after
This.
doing so many
Yes.
different things and spending so much money and taking so many things that tasted terrible, or
Yeah.
tons of pills or detox protocol, on and on and on. And this, just to take these little
Yes.
cups of liquid, And to me, that's the biggest thing. What if it could be so simple? Yeah.
I love that. Well, I love the product line. It's so incredible. B Minerals. And I know specifically you have a women's mineral support kit. I'd love for you to just highlight that for a moment.
Yeah, I want to clarify to people. Some
Yeah.
people are confused because we really only have 6 or 7 products. Okay. And what we have done is put together kits that really help people in who are, if you're a performance athlete, you might want a different set and that's
Mhm.
going to work in a certain way. And then we tell you how you're going to actually use them to support performance. If you're a woman, you have specific needs. Maybe you could be pregnant or you could be lactating, et cetera, or you could be in perimenopause or postmenopause, et cetera. So we have put together a kit that includes our advanced set and includes Electrolyze and Microboost. It also includes a couple of our Fulvic sprays. And I really want to talk about the Fulvic sprays because
Yeah.
truly revolutionary. So remember how I talked about the Fulvic being a very small molecule. So the beautiful thing is you can spray it anywhere on your skin and it will absorb through the skin in 3 to 5 seconds directly through your skin.
That's
So
wonderful.
if you have menstrual cramps, you can spray it on your abdomen and you'll be amazed, or your lower back, and you'll be amazed at what happens. You'll be like, whoa, that's just crazy. So Happy Lights is one of the ones that we include in the women's kit because women, when they're going through either PMS or they're going, we have all these hormonal changes and it can affect your mood.
Oh gosh.
So Happy Lights, and I know you love essential oils also.
I love it. Yeah, it's the one with the bergamot, isn't it?
Yeah,
Or is it?
it's
Yeah, it
bergamot.
is so yummy. I am
It's a
obsessed with bergamot for one.
me Well, the interesting thing in the studies that I did about bergamot is with most people who smell bergamot, it actually triggers the release of endorphins in
Mhm.
the
Mhm.
body. So, because your olfactory system, as
It's
you well know, is connected with your lower brainstem where many neurotransmitters are triggered, it's really powerful. So, for people with depression who are dealing with anxiety or panic, our Happy Lights it's our third favorite product after
ah,
the ingestibles because it truly works.
I love it. Yeah, it smells so good, but I've just been spraying it. And is that I wanted to make I was
Yeah.
like, and obviously I can do my own research, but I was
You
like, I heard
literally,
you on here.
you literally just spray it
It smells so good.
and you breathe it in, and you're
Yeah.
getting several things. One, you're getting an infusion of electrolytes directly through your skin and through the sinuses, which is very porous membrane. And you're also getting the olfactory experience of the bergamot. It's not long acting, but what people who've talked to us about using it have said is it breaks the cycle.
Yeah, yes.
Going through
Yes, it
anxiety,
changes your state.
it changes your state.
Yeah.
Exactly. Of course, essential oils are very effective for that.
Yeah, I know, and I was so excited about the combo. I was
Yeah.
curious to learn more about the combo. I've been playing with this. Obviously, I've been doing more of the therapeutic, I've been doing the drinks and like putting it in my water
Right,
because
take it.
it's literally my morning routine. And so, but I've been spraying those around as well. And I love that it's one of the big products. I get it too. Women are just, yeah.
For the moms out there, we also have the Boo Boo Lights, which is incredible for bug bites, bee stings, burns, scrapes. You just spray it on and it's amazing how well it works. We take it whenever we're going camping or anything like that. It just removes the pain almost instantaneously.
Mm,
So,
I love it. Yeah, we get lots of owies in our house.
yeah,
Sometimes maybe they're not owies. We got recently a lot of owies. Like, oh, mama, everything.
we have a lot of kids who actually start saying, "I need my Boo Boo Lights."
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Now
That's what we have.
I need my Boo Boo. Where's the Boo Boo?
It's so true. Oh my
Oh,
goodness. It cracks me
what
up.
a pleasure.
Yeah. So I just wanted to highlight the women's kit because yeah, I mean, it's particularly for us in, hormone shifts, which,
Yeah.
we have many of them. I always say without permission. It happens monthly. It happens in pregnancy and postpartum. And it definitely happens in perimenopause, menopause, and even puberty. Oh my goodness. And so, to have that level of support is just so wonderful. And I hadn't even thought of, I have a friend of mine right now dealing with really insane cramps. And a lot of the things that I've thrown at her just aren't cutting it. And I'm so excited to be able to bring this to her.
Yeah, and with most women who are dealing with painful periods, and I had terrible painful periods for 20 years.
Ugh,
Wish I had known,
yeah.
but so many women come to me and say they have no painful periods anymore. A woman who was she ran the jujitsu studio at my gym. One day she was like, Caroline, come here. And I was like, okay. And she said, I'm having my period. And I was like, oh, that's great. And she's like, I'm like, okay. And she said, no, I'm at the gym teaching and I'm having my period. Do you realize that is unprecedented?
Oh, she's like, I don't show up that
I'm
day.
curled up in a ball on it.
Oh,
Yeah, in the dark. Yeah. So really, mineral replenishment can be a huge game changer for women who have painful periods.
I love this. Yeah, because what I'm always recommending is for women to just really step up their magnesium. But it's, it's not full mineral support. It's just the one. It's just the one mineral, And also I have women put like essential oil like peppermint or deep blue or something like that to help manage that. And so I'm so excited for this.
What if they could get rid of it all?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, yes, please. Sign me
Yes,
up.
please. Right, exactly.
I want to make sure that I wanted to highlight anything else that you were like, okay, we need to make sure everyone knows. Anything else we're missing? I know we covered a lot of bases today.
Yeah, I think we did hit everything. I think I just really want to leave people with, what if the stresses that you're experiencing in your body, the chronic symptoms could all be, I'm not saying healed because minerals do not heal anything. What they do is give your body the foundational support it needs to do the work that it can do.
Well, the word that came to mind for me was like homeostasis.
Yes.
That's what it feels like, homeostasis. And that's what we're looking to achieve here because that is at the cellular level.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, well, I'm gonna have all the links. Yeah, I'm gonna have beamminerals.com in the show notes, but super easy to go find. Beamminerals.com, Instagram as well. We'll have that on there. And then I'll have the link to the women's mineral support kit so all of you can check it out. Anywhere else, Caroline, that I'm missing?
I think you did so great, and I want to just thank you so much for hosting me.
Yeah.
I really appreciate having the opportunity to talk to your audience. And if people have more questions, feel free to send them our way. We have a very educated support staff, customer service. They won't just send you a blanket answer. They'll actually respond to you.
I love that. Oh, so good. Yes, I'll have all that information and I'm sure on Insta too, you guys can reach out and DM. But yeah, I think it's one of those things where like, you can't lose if you try this. Like you just can't lose. Like just give it a go. Give it 30 days at least, and then see what happens to go from there. And I'm so excited to integrate these into my son's daily routine. Like we're going to do this tonight, which I'm so excited. And because it's so funny when you're doing something for yourself and you're like, can I do this for myself? Because I always, especially at 4, I know 5 kind of things turn all of a sudden we can bring in a lot of things. And so I am always just a little bit on the conservative side when it comes to him, understandably.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
As you should be. Yeah. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks, Caroline, honey. All right. See you soon.
Take care.
Thank you so much for watching. Now, if you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up and share your thoughts in the comments. And if you are ready to learn more about perimenopause and how to navigate with a lot of ease and grace, be sure to subscribe to this channel so that you can join our community. Don't forget to share this video with someone that you love, that you know is navigating the perimenopause journey as well, because they deserve to feel their best too. See you in the next video.